a new form of marriage that, although it's not a legal marriage, but a social marriage. I would like to ask, how do you feel about this kind of marriage? Is no legal power because they didn't register in the hall, and also is that common in your own country?
Let me introduce myself. I was born in Indonesia, and well, this kind of situation, I think, also in the past here in Holland also happened. Probably you wouldn't call it as a contract marriage, but I think it happened. And it is not what in Indonesia also, as usual, people won't call it that way, and probably they won't recognize if it happens actually.
How do you feel?
I think it's a beautiful thing because they can share their lives together, and I've heard about it once from my mother. She told about it, but I've never seen it in my environment.
Yeah. And as I heard, I would like to ask something more private and personal, because you are not close to the heterosexual norm. And how do you feel from your personal perspective about the family pressure, social pressure, or do you experience any kind of discrimination in your country?
I was raised here in Holland, and I didn't have a big pressure from my family. But I know from the other American gay guys I know that they have a kind of pressure from most of all from the dads.
Well, I was born in Indonesia, but I came here to study, and my parents, my siblings are still Indonesian, so I experienced some pressure, especially because I'm the eldest child, the eldest son, and for Asian families, especially Chinese families, the son is the carrier of the name, so very important. But because of distance, I think I could sort of avoid and escape my duty as the first son to marry. So my sister married first, and then my little brother, youngest brother, and yeah.
So you don't have that much pressure?
Well, I did, but I kept convincing my parents that what I chose was a good one for me, and I was happy with my choice. When I came here, it was in '85, so it was quite a long time ago. And at that time, of course, Indonesia was different than now, and society was different. It is now, because of internet, it's also more open, so you know more about each other, what happened on the other side of the world. And at that time, I felt I was alone.
To me, tonight the theme is about LGBT, and this is why I also think about how to address ourselves as gay, queer, transsexual, or lesbian, how to do that. From a personal point of view, we need to think it's very private and also very personal. I myself, maybe I can say I am pansexual, for example, which I can choose whoever and whenever, or that I would like to have sexual activity, and this is my private thing. But then coming to the LGBT community, which is to say, if I choose to sleep with a woman, I automatically, by the social, put into the lesbian label without a choice. And for gay men, if they choose to sleep with a man, and then they are put in this label, when they are being put in this label and being labeled by that, they have the pressure. For example, in this our marriage, it's obvious the context is in China, and these lesbian and gay, they have the social pressure and also from the family. Even though they may not love the person that they marry, they still do that because for the family. But relating to globalization and migration is, I think in this documentary we can see is very clearly, they use the internet. Internet is moving around. They can also invite someone from the Netherlands to get married, and if the parents like to have this social mobility to invite a white man to marry their Asian wife. This is the context that is keeps shifting.
But personally, what do you think about the contract marriage?
I was a bit disappointed actually. At the end, he said 3 of them were not really married, because in Hong Kong and also here, I heard some people they get married because for residency or for other thing, but they issue this contract marriage more like a stage show. It's for their family, for the relatives, especially for the last one, Xiaoshong, the very butchy girl. She got married, and when her parents give the speech, what you can see is people just keep eating. Her relatives, the guests, keep eating. No one bother what her parents said. And even the video doesn't bother about how handsome the boy is. You can see it's cut down. You don't see his face. So what bother is if your parents care about what other people think instead of caring about your feeling, I think this is a big failure. So I try to educate this to my parents since I was 18 after I studied gender studies. So maybe you can do the same to your family, to your relatives, to change the world bit by bit.
As LGBT migrants, are you feeling comfortable to be engaged actively in the society in the Netherlands in the context of work, activism, or dating?
From Singapore to the Netherlands as an expatriate, I think I'm one of the very few transsexual, pre-op transsexual, that has ever been given this opportunity, and I'm very proud of it. I've been here for almost 4 years now. I find the Netherlands a country that I need a lot of getting used to. I love the fact that LGBT people can be who they are. Me as a transsexual, I can just be open about my sexuality. I can openly tell anyone that I'm trans. Of course, it raises a lot of questions. People are curious. A lot of questions like, do you have a penis and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of not new, because in Asia, wherever I travel, because I'm in the trans language, we like to call ourselves passable, because I don't look like a man, because I transitioned at a very young age. My voice also, I don't sound like a man. My mannerism, the way I look, my breasts, they are natural. So I don't have so much problem trying to fit into the society. It's when it comes to dating, it's trying to tell the guy that I'm dating that I'm just a transsexual. That is a lot of problem, because you never know what the reaction will be, and fortunately or unfortunately, Dutch people are very open. So a lot of the times the guy just take a moment, and then after that he look at me and then just hug and kiss and like, okay, fine. I've been here for almost 4 years, and I've made the Netherlands my home, and I think I'm so comfortable here that anytime I travel home to Singapore, in 1 week I'm already homesick, and I'm not homesick when I'm here. I'm homesick when I'm in Singapore, so yeah.
Work as a poetry performance and gender work as a photographer. I would like to know how you see your cultural productions, the power of it. How do you think your works can influence the LGBT community?
I think it's a powerful form that I do it in my poetry and my spoken word. And I also can I can be radical and stand somewhere and say that everybody has to accept the gay people. But for me, it's important that the people understand the process, and that I let people think about it.
Well, if I can change the way people think, that would be such an achievement. I mean, I make them. I make the photos because I like to make them. And well, if in art or my, my work make people think about what thought behind it, then I'm successful in it. So I'm not really sort of well, I make this because of out of activism or trying to promote something, but it's just to make people aware that there are differences in the world.
discrimination is something that transgender people can never get away from. I mean, growing up, I face it almost every day of my life, and being different, being, when you're young and you're a boy, but yet you look girlish, and then when you reach 14, you have boobs. A lot of questions come to mind among the boys, among the girls, among the teachers, among the principals. So you have to cope with, as a child, growing up, trying to be yourself. I've always believed in being myself rather than telling people that I'm different. Because I have always been comfortable in my skin. When I was retrenched once in Singapore in 1997, that was the economic slowdown. I had the toughest period of 6 months of trying to get a job in Singapore because clearly my sexual identity was a big issue. I sent out 80 resumes. I went for 30 interviews or 35 interviews. Always at the end of the interview, I know very well that the job is mine. But because I'm still pre-op, I'm obligated to tell my future employer that I'm a transsexual. So when I do that, I lost all chance of ever getting a job. And I didn't get any of those jobs that I declared openly that I'm a transsexual. And that to me is a huge form of discrimination. And it couldn't get any better or any worse. You know, I think a lot of the time, especially the trans people, we blame the whole world for who we are. We blame the whole world for our failure. We blame the whole world for being prostitutes. We blame the whole world for stepping in the windows. But we don't ask ourselves enough, or give ourselves enough credit to tell ourselves that we can be better. And I'm one of those people who really, really believe that I can be better. And that is why I'm here. That is why I'm an expatriate. That is why.
Okay, I have a question about to our speakers here, because I noticed that our speakers come from different countries. And as a gay man originally come from China, I love my life in the Netherlands. But I also quite curious because you come from different countries, and I want to know how many people come from Singapore, maybe come from Indonesia, how many LGBT people in the Netherlands, and how about their life? Because I'm seeing your guys, but I don't know. I'm quite curious how their life looks like.
I don't know how many. I don't know many of them actually, but I know there are a lot. I think maybe also some of the reason they are here, because although Indonesia now is more free, it's an opener, but it's still an issue. And as you see also in the movie, that social pressure is also quite strong there. So I know from a friend of mine who is lesbian. She just married recently, I think out of pressure.
I have a lot of gay Moluccan friends also, and most of them are afraid to tell it to their parents. So they're still also in the pressure from the family and the cultural background. So that's still up here. But yeah, it's a bit strange because for me, I'm born and raised here in Holland. And for me, there was no pressure, but I got my own pressure because I thought, because of the cultural background, that I couldn't say it. But in the end, they were like, oh, if you want to do that, if you want to be gay, if you want to be happy like that, oh, that's okay for us. But I know from all the other Moluccan friends, they are still struggling with it. And some of them sometimes mail me and they don't tell their name, and they ask me questions about it. So I can be a sort of role model for them, and that's the only thing I think I can do.
Being Malay, being Muslim, that's one of the largest challenge for me, because I still keep my faith, and I believe in my religion, although I'm not the pray 5 times a day type of person. I'm not that pious, but then I still believe in Allah, I still believe in God, I still believe, and a lot of the ladies that I've met, the transgender ladies, a lot of the gay guys that I've met from my part of the world, Singapore, Malaysia, and some Indonesia, a lot of them came here looking for a better life. Yeah, so most of them were prostitutes when they first came. Most of them were working in the windows. And I always try to motivate them, and they are always wanting to know what I'm doing now, especially when I lost my job and then I'm meeting jobs. They are always very motivated by the fact that I never give up. I still continue pursuing my career here. I have a possibility of being thrown out of the Netherlands, but then I'm still fighting. Yeah, and I'm not going. A lot of them say, find a man, get married, get your ID, and I'm like, no, I refuse to do that. Till today, I said, no, I'm going to get another job. I'm going to live in this country based on my merits and not because of a man.
I've been working with Indonesian gay and transgender migrants in the Netherlands and Belgium for 2 years for my master thesis, and I can assure that sometimes telling the parents is not the only way to be accepted. Just letting know that they have kind of boyfriend or girlfriend, and then the parents actually know, and they just inviting for dinner or lunch, not saying anything. In silence, it's also kind of accepting. So it's not always about the telling and something that verbal.
When you look at the movie and you see how Asian people in the movie in China don't accept it, actually it's the peer pressure of the environment. They don't accept LGBTs. Actually, I'm a heterosexual among this LGBT society. That's just in between. But if you now look at Holland, the Asian society community here in Holland, how would you look at that? Are they even worse than what you see in the movies, because migrants usually are, or are they more accepting?
I'm not really sure actually which one is more difficult. I mean, there is sort of ignorance at that part in the Netherlands. They doesn't want to know what you are, or that they care too much, like in Asia.
In my earlier years, went out and searched for other lesbian girls, because in the first thing I thought I was lesbian. Then what I saw is also the labels inside the gay community, and discriminating inside the gay communities, and that's what I really see here in Holland. So that's specific another thing that I don't think, because it's another process in the Moluccan community here in Holland. They don't talk about it. So I live in two things. In the Moluccan community, but I also live here as a Dutch person with a Moluccan background.
Okay. I think for all of us who are migrants, we are not anymore living in, are you Indonesian? It's very problematic for me to answer. How about you?
Actually, for me as well, I don't know how to feel being minority here, but back in Hong Kong, I'm certainly minority in my community, so as to say. When my brother tried to come out to me, he only asked, sister, do you go to the bar that needs a membership? So not like here you put the rainbow flag in the in the bar and you know where to go. Then if you go there, people assume that you have certain identity. But in Hong Kong, those lesbian gay pubs, and they put a big label, members only, and usually they have bodyguard. If some, as I experience as well, some heterosexual people like to go in and disturb the whole environment inside the pub. It's not so friendly like here. And I also watched a documentary in Indonesia about LGBT and the pub. The lesbian walk out from the underground lesbian pub. The heterosexual guy just rape her and say, now I'm turning you to straight. This is very different from the Netherlands and back in Asia, Hong Kong. But I don't say it's not happy being a minority or being LGBT or being whoever you want to label yourself. Actually, in Asia, we can also find happiness. Like in our marriage, they create their own way to seek for their happiness. So this is the power of the individual.
In the movie, we saw how the ladies were getting into marriage because to relieve the pressure for their family, especially for their parents. And a few of you have told us that you were out to your family. How is it for your family, if I may ask? Do they experience pressure from the outside world, or can they handle it?
That's why I thought that they experience some pressure. I think so. But the other hand, because I was not the only one here, I had also other relatives, and they knew that I was dating the guy, so they knew I was out there, and I'm sure that they also told my parents or their my uncles, my aunts about me, but they never mentioned it in front of my parents. And I think that's, my parents just feel that they knew, and that they wanted to hide the fact that I was living with a man here.
I've been also working with young LGBT Indonesians right now through social media. There's difficulties and obstacles, but at the same time, they are very brave, and they know that they have problems with their family, and some of them have to go out from their house and living with a very impoverished situation, try to be independent, which I find very beautiful. And some of them maybe try to work with it, how to deal with the family while they're not trying to say to them that they are gay, but okay, I'm heterosexual, but at the same time, they are also enjoy by having a relationship with men.
I'm also from Indonesia, and from what I have experienced, it's more than just social pressures. It's also mainly about the religions itself, because I spent my half of my life here, and during my teenage year, I kept moving because my dad's job required me to move like every 2 years. So I had experienced a lot of, you can say that as pressures, because it happened a lot of times in my high school. During my high school time, there were like students who got like bullied because of his or her sexual orientation, because somehow we knew that our friends were like different, and we just we have to do something to make them turn back to the way that they think is normal. And also in the fact that I haven't come out to my family until now. I just came out to my friends and here. So because it's my fear that something bad will happen to my family back then. As Muslims, having this kind of, probably just a bit of feeling of having to like somebody else who has the same sex is wrong. It's like totally wrong. So, and ever since we were kids, we have been taught that.
I think coming out is such a huge topic among the LGBT community, and I personally feel that this word is I hate this word so much because I don't know why. Why do we have to come out? As a transgender, there's no way I can hide my coming out. The transformation or the transition is so obvious that there's no coming out. You know, you just see it in the open, and then people start judging, people start whispering behind your backs, people start saying a lot of things, a lot of nasty things. So it's a question of how you deal with yourself. You know, I've always felt that, okay, this cliche about a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body is totally, sorry, effing ridiculous. I don't feel trapped.
I can advise you to come out. It is, well, I know it is difficult, but it is to be the true yourself and to live without any pressure of that you are playing masquerade actually is such a freedom.
I know I have to add that. For me as an educator, I will say that coming out it is a right, it is not responsibility, so don't feel much pressure because it is not you who are wrong, it is others who think you are wrong. So when we already think that we're responsible to say to others, hey, I'm gay, please don't kill me or something. So you already think that there's something wrong with me. Therefore, I'm going from there because maybe I'm going to quote the Foucault that actually coming out is also come from a very homophobic kind of thinking, that because it is you are that different, that's why you have to come out to the rest.
What I really hate here in Holland is that, I had I met some people and they knew that I was lesbian back then, and then they say, oh yeah, oh I know you, you're Olympia, you're the lesbian. So like I introduced myself as Olympia, the lesbian. I hate that, so I was like, I'm more than my sexuality, I have to explain it to them, but in the end I was like, why do I explain? They're so at another level, and that's what I also hate. You don't say, oh hi, I'm with my aunt, she's heterosexual. Hi, I'm Henny, I'm heterosexual.
Yeah.
So stupid also.
I just want to say, when she was little, she had always had the stories, she told what she was. And when she was little, I know she brought the boyfriends, school friends. But first she came to me and said, it's not I have a problem, no, we talk about it. But I just only want to say, I'm proud that my niece doing this, from little girl till she's down. And I still support her or drive or whatever, because I have seen in our community that for the men it was easier to say they don't say you're gay or lesbian. They say our language, but they didn't say you're lesbian because we didn't know the word. We only know the man's word. But we also know that most of the men, they're lovely, they live so close, they make beautiful things, they can cook all the best, like that. But we can cook also the best. I know that. I can cook very best. So, our parents didn't talk about it. But I'm very proud. My parents aren't anymore, but they accept it. Because we explain it, second generation, and she will take the fandom and carry it with the third, fourth, or fifth.
And thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for our guest speakers to give your sharing and your experience. Very beautiful, very wonderful, and also very powerful. Tonight, if you're interested in this documentary and if you would like to know more about it, you can Google Pink Space. They produced this documentary. If you would like to follow the China news on the sexual rights, you can ask Neymar, and it's in the Halo Online. Yeah, in the LMW. And thank you very much for CinemAsia for inviting us here.